everybody, and welcome to the Wednesday show. I'm your host, TUES. I have with me my wonderful co-host, Terry DeMantis.
Hello.
And Gentine Maxey.
Hello.
I forgot to mute the stream.
Are you okay, Terry?
I forgot to mute the stream. It's good.
Uh-oh. You good?
Yeah.
Ah, sweet. All kinds of fun technical issues. I went to start the stream, and I clicked on OBS and said, start streaming. And YouTube looked at me and said, yeah, so? You're supposed to respond after I hit the button, and YouTube said, So I checked the stream key, and it looked the same. I copied it from YouTube and put it in OBS and said apply and tried again, and it worked.
Oh,
I don't know what that was all about, but here we are. It's Wednesday. Let's go ahead and say hello. Let's say hello. That's better than saying hello. To everybody in chat, Kivernam. Hi, Kivernam. How are you, sweetie? OG Costin. Who else is in chat? I'm scrolling. Nobody yet, but I'm sure we'll have a whole bunch of people who are late that will show up shortly. How you doing, Jen?
I'm good. How are yourself?
A little tired, a little hangry maybe, but not bad. Terry, you're pretty hangry too, right?
I was before I ate. Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's cool. We have a couple of interesting topics for this show tonight, in case everyone's read the title already. I didn't try to make them clever this time. I just kind of put them out there because I didn't feel clever. The Uvalde video has dropped and shows some pretty terrible things. We can talk about that for a little bit. France.
Cleanliness is next to godliness.
Yeah, apparently. Cleanliness is next to godlessness.
Yeah.
Free France, their parliament, their popularity. What do they call that when they're talking about politics? The popular part of the party.
Like the approval rating, or
no? There's a when a president is loved by the people, they say he's a certain kind of president, a publicly populist. That's the word I was looking for. The populist part of the French government pushed through some interesting legislation. We'll get back to that. And also, we have set a new record. We're number one. America's number one. We are now at 9.1 in our inflation stats, which puts us the highest since 1983, I think was the number. So 40 years. We're at 9.1, and groceries are at 12.2% inflation.
Yep.
Well, Biden made history.
Yeah, we're number one. Biden did something no one else has done in a long time. Congratulations to the man.
It's gonna get worse.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Because I don't know if the numbers have come in yet, but I think this is going to be the second month that we show a decreased growth in the economy. So that means recession is official.
Yep.
So we can get into that. Was it 1981? I thought it was 83. Campbell's with the facts. Hey, Campbell. Assassin is in chat too. Yeah.
The year before I was born.
The year after I was.
Yeah, y'all are way too young. So yes, hello, Campbell. Hello, Assassin. Welcome to the chat. Yeah, so we got a couple of things to talk about. We don't have to stick to those topics. There's plenty of other things we can be talking about. We had a very interesting discussion before the stream started about dreams. That was fun. Me talking about how sticking my hand in an oven without gloves on and pulling something out of the oven with my bare hands. Yeah, it's not a dream I enjoy having every month.
I'll bet it isn't.
But anyway. Well, I think we can put the discussion about dreams to rest because it's not a fun topic for me and I don't like it. So let's talk about Uvalde. You guys, Jen, you have not seen the video yet. Terry, have you seen it?
No.
I've seen like still shots of it. I haven't seen the actual video.
So you haven't.
Yeah.
You're probably better off not seeing it. It's pretty disturbing. I mean, not visually, but what's disturbing about it is the sound. because
Well, actually, the thing that I saw, the picture had the sound of children screaming has been removed. Like there was an editor's note,
Mhm,
and it's like that says everything that you need it to say. Is that
pretty
like
much. The one I saw did not have anything removed. So you got to hear the gunshots and everything like that while the officers were standing in the hallway doing nothing. You had to see it
they
real
were
time.
cleaning their hands.
Well, one of them
was
was,
also,
yeah.
It was also one of the cops was like very intent on his cell phone, like it was a game or something on his cell phone.
He pulled the cell phone out of his pocket, looked at it, and put it back in his pocket.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that was just somebody editing something. I just had
Yep.
to confirm that because, you know, there's always somebody who puts something out there that's not true.
Yeah.
And that would have really disturbed me if he was playing a game on his phone while, you know.
He wasn't.
That would have.
My guess is that it could have been legitimate. He got a text from the commanding officer. You know, that could have been a possibility. So I'll try to give him the benefit of the doubt on that. Because that's how it seemed to work. He had these tactical pants on, which had like 40 pockets on it. And he reached into his left pocket, which was already kind of open because I guess the weight of the cell phone itself kind of pushed the pocket open. He reached in, looked at it, and put it back in his pocket. I don't even think he even touched the front of it. He just reached in, looked at it, put it back.
Yeah, that's all I needed to confirm. Because, like, if they, you know, it didn't even need to be his boss texting him. It could have been like a girlfriend or a wife and just checking his phone.
There's no way to know who it was until you looked at it. So,
you know, I wouldn't have blamed him for that because that's still a normal thing to check. Like, is this important? You know, I would have done the same. It was just that image. I was like, I hope that's just a meme. And yeah, okay. That's why you don't come to conclusions until you find out things, you know? I wouldn't.
The video is very confusing because people are saying these cops are cowards. These cops are cowards. You watch the video, cops did go down the hallway to the room. When they heard the shooting, they backed up. About halfway. Some of them were about halfway, but most of them were all the way back around the corner. The people who were back around the corner came in later. It started off with 4 or 5 guys going in the hallway. They heard the shooting, they backed up. The other guys came in and just kind of stood there like they were waiting to be told to go. So those cops, I don't know if from the point that they were at, if they could have heard the kids. They obviously could have heard the gunshots and did not move. Now, you don't know how you would react in that circumstance. I feel that if I were me and not a trained cop, that I would react on my emotions and I would go. The cops are trained to ignore that and act on orders. So
that's true.
I can't say those 35 cops in there, every fucking one of them was a coward. I can't say that. How long have we been on the air? 9 minutes, 11 seconds. Good, I can say that. But the 4 or 5 cops in the front who went down and then backed up, yeah, those guys, I have some issues where, you know, because if you hear bang, 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 and children, they were close enough to hear the kids screaming.
Yes.
Yeah.
Those 5 cops should have gone in right away, no questions asked. I don't care orders or not orders. You hear gunshots and kids screaming, you go. There's no waiting for orders. You do it. That's end of story, in my opinion. But the guy who was in charge, man, he's in serious, serious trouble from that video.
Should be.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he should be.
You can't even look yourself in the mirror anymore. I mean,
some people aren't meant for that job. And I'm sorry, it's not an easy job. It is a hard job. That's why not everyone should go into that job. You know, and that's why it is important to show proper support to the police. But you know, if you're going to end up with guys like that, then yeah, maybe the cops do need to have a review.
Well, yeah, because Hammer was saying you don't know how you'll react until you're in that situation. That's why I'm not a cop. Is like I know I wouldn't be able to handle that situation, so I wouldn't take a job that would put me in that situation. If you sign up to be a cop, you know what you're getting into.
Mm-hmm. Like
You're supposed to, yeah.
I don't know how I would react either. Like, my instincts when it comes to kids, like, and they're not, I don't even have children. Maybe that's the problem. I don't even have children. So I feel overhyped when I see kids in pain or something.
Mm-hmm.
But like the thought of like, even the thought of a kid getting hit by a car, I'm automatically kicking the kid out of the way. There's no thinking. I'm just,
yeah. I mean, I saw a video not too long ago where a car came careening into this, it wasn't a driveway, it was like the front of a shop. And the woman was to the left and the kid was to the left, and a guy was walking into frame from the right. He saw the car, wasn't even his kid.
Yeah.
He grabbed the kid and jumped out of the way, and the car hit his knee like in a glancing blow with the bumper. That's how close he was. Saved the kid's life. And it wasn't even his kid. I mean, it's just natural to protect life. It is natural for a human being to protect other human beings. It manifests differently in men and women, but the instinct is there for both of us.
Of course, yeah.
You know,
especially with kids.
The woman will point and say, "Save my baby." The man will run in and do it. I mean, that's kind of the trope, but that was the case here too. It's not like it doesn't happen in real life. That's exactly what she did. She screamed and he ran. He did.
Yeah.
But she screamed. So she had the same instinct. She just acted differently about it. You know? Right. So, I mean, if I hear a gunman in there with a gun, and I have a gun, and I have even the minimal amount of training to how to use it, I'm not even thinking twice. I'm getting myself killed over it if I have to. If I can get a shot in and disable him and die for it, perfectly acceptable for me.
I can even believe without a shadow of a doubt that the teachers were probably the first to go simply because they tried to save children. Literally jumped in the way the first time he shot. And that's literally as fast as it goes. Because that's my whenever I thought about school shootings when I was a kid, that was my first instinct, was to think, I would cover the kids.
I don't know if it's true, but I heard that one of the cops shouted something like, shout out if you need help. And then the killer heard that and then killed the kid. It's like, how bad would you feel if you were that cop and you just got that kid killed?
Yeah, cop needs to learn negotiating tactics, obviously. All he's doing is pointing the rifle for the gunman. The reason I put this in here, I really wasn't going to do it because it's not exactly an entertaining or uplifting story. By the way, hello, Spud Gun. The reason I didn't I hesitated originally was because and decided to put it in was because I watched the coverage from Philip DeFranco. Yeah. And what he brought into it, besides his personal opinion, which was awful, was the fact that there was a senator or a representative, congressman, somebody said, this just proves that good guys with guns don't solve the bad guy with guns problem. And my response to that, in the comments was, just because you're wearing a black shirt and black pants doesn't make you the good guy. Are you trying?
Who's to say that they were good guys? It doesn't sound like they were at all.
Yeah, what are you trying to tell me, that the cops who are cowards are good guys? No, just because they're cops doesn't make them the good guys.
I mean, considering he has a hatred for cops in the first place, like, he's all defund the police anyway. I'm not about necessarily defunding the police. I'm about, like, if you're getting paid for that shit, then I'm sorry if the job is sucky. You know, it comes with the territory.
Yeah.
Do you know how many jobs in this world are really unpleasant and they aren't revolving around? Like, let's talk about another job that's really unpleasant that doesn't take the heat that the cops do. The fire department. The fire department deals with a lot of garbage. You know, like they deal with biohazards. They deal with burn victims. They do handle corpses sometimes. Like, they usually refer them back to the cops, but sometimes they deal with corpses.
Coroner.
You know, they deal with drowned victims. You know, they have a stressful, traumatic life too, so.
And how many of them are volunteers?
And they don't make big bucks. They don't.
Typically the cops don't either, but the cops rely on overtime. The average tactical officer makes over $100,000 a year by getting overtime.
And I'm not saying this to throw shade at the cops yet again, because I couldn't do it. It is a tough job, just the same as I couldn't be a firefighter. That's why I want to show support to the people who can and are. I'd like the system to go through and be like, maybe you shouldn't be here. This maybe is not your job. Maybe you should be the person pushing pencils somewhere else. And I know that's harsh, but I'm saying this as somebody in my own country looking up above and going, yeah, there's a lot of people in charge of my life right now who unethically wouldn't care if I died tomorrow, starving to death, poisoned to death. They really wouldn't give a shit.
I think it was Chris Rock who was saying that, yeah, I get it. It's just some bad eggs on the police force, but some jobs you don't get to have bad eggs. Some jobs you need everyone to be good. And the example he gives is pilot. You can't say like, well, most of our pilots land the plane. Some just like to crash into mountains.
Mr. Adams in chat, our Sunday night host.
Hello.
And Jack has joined the chat. So we need to end
He's
the show.
early.
Yeah. Thanks for coming out. It's been a good stream. We'll catch you next week.
Can't wait for the next Wednesday's show. Remember that Minions are live every evening. Yeah, we're not going to end the show this early, obviously. So, but yeah, I mean, do you think you could be a cop, Terry, if you got all the training?
Oh, fuck no. Not a chance.
Why? Tell me why.
I'm not courageous enough to put my life on the line like that. It's some people are meant for that sort of job, and I am not one of them. I can admit that.
To be honest with you, though, I don't blame you, Terry, because in the time that I've watched the Australian version of the trucker event, you'd also have to reason with other Australians.
Mm-hmm.
And some Australians make sense, and then some Australians you're like, what English are you actually speaking? Because that didn't make any sense whatsoever. Not because they weren't speaking English. They were just like all over the place. And you're like,
I could definitely be a cop. I could definitely be a cop.
I think, certain people are the right people for the job. And I think the police need to do a better job of filtering the wrong people out, because you don't want someone who's going to like shit their pants and flee in terror as a cop. You want someone who's going to be like, okay, I'm scared, and that's going to push me to resolve the situation rather than
with the amount of time I've spent reviewing and incorporating First Amendment auditing and stuff like that. You get to see pretty clearly who's a good cop and who's a bad cop, what to do and what not to do, that kind of thing. And I have the temperament for it. I'm very much a logical thinker. I know I'm good under pressure, so I'm not too concerned about that. Obviously, you need training, but I think I would be a good police officer. I think I can handle dead bodies and stuff like that. That's I don't see that bothering me. Of course, you never know when presented with the actual deal, like I said earlier, but I think that I could probably do it. Poppy is in chat, and Johnny Hellcat has joined our Thursday night, and our former Sunday night host have stopped by. Hello.
Yeah, actually. I mean, Lucky Pop-Tart hasn't been around in ages.
Hi, Poppy. Yeah.
That's amazing.
She's a busy girl.
On that note of cops, though, I do have to laugh at the Dutch cops. I really do.
Did you see them getting overrun by farmers?
Well, it's not just getting overrun by farmers, but it was like the farmers dumped a bunch of their hay bales, and they had like 8 or 9 of them trying to flip one of those things. Not
funny.
even flip. They were trying to push it. I'm like, okay, first of all, you're not supposed to push it. You are actually supposed to flip them. You just kind of flip them over and over and over again.
They don't know. They're not farmers.
They don't know that. They're not farmers, but even still, like 8 or 9 of them are trying to push this thing. I'm like, you're gonna hurt yourself. And then I realized that half of them were women, and they weren't even strong women. I'm sorry, ladies. Not to throw shade at the force, but if your girl looks like a Twinkie, I can break her because she's a Twinkie. And I'm saying that as a female to another female. Now, if your female cop looks like Gina Carano, she's going to beat the shit out of me. And rightfully so. Don't hire them if they look like a Twinkie.
I saw a video once of a female cop who was trying to arrest a male cop. Or not a male cop, a male suspect.
Yeah,
and he took the gun off of her, beat the shit out of her, and shot her.
Yeah.
And she was crying the entire time. Please don't. You know, that kind of stuff. And it's just like, yeah,
not what you want from a police officer.
No. So I'm not really much in favor of female cops. Just about every female cop I've seen in First Amendment auditing has been bad. I have yet to see a good. Well, no, I have seen one. I will not say not everyone. There was one who was perfect. She did an absolutely fantastic job, but it wasn't, guns drawn kind of deal. It was kind of like this guy was auditing a property. She went over to him first. The property owner called. She went over to him first, got the story, and she says, "Okay, hang on." And she went to talk to the other guys, and she says, "Okay." And she came back to the first guy and says, "They don't know. They don't understand what the First Amendment is. They don't understand what photography means. You're not on their property. You're perfectly fine." And he said, "Can you come over that and repeat that in front of me?" And they both, the cop and the auditor, went over to them, and she repeated it. And she said, "Just stay off the road and don't get hit by a car or anything like that. But you're within your rights." And she have a good day and drove away. I know it was like refreshing. It's refreshing to see that from police in the first place. But all of my experience with females were, "Give me your ID. I'm putting you in handcuffs." It was all just completely toxic and escalating, whenever it was women. Not that men didn't do it, but it was more of a 50-50 with guys, where women it's 99%.
Almost 100.
Yeah. So
I did see something good on Twitter where someone was saying next time there's a school shooting, you should report like a woke crime, like someone made an offensive joke or someone misgendered someone, and then the cops will be like, "No, we're taking this guy down."
That's what they needed to do. He misgendered me. Shoot him. It's probably a bad thing to immerse myself in, is all the bad things cops do, because you're rarely going to see a video on any YouTube channel. Look at how great the cops are. Nobody watches that video, so you're getting a biased look.
Besides anything else, I mean, that's what it should be. It's not interesting. Like if I go to McDonald's and they get my order right, I'm not going to tweet about it because who cares? I ordered something and I got it.
Look,
now, if they fuck the order up, if they fuck the order up, I'm going to complain about it, and that might give the perception that McDonald's always screws orders up. It's not. It's just that people don't bother reporting on when they get things right.
I do try to watch channels, First Amendment channels. I try to watch channels that post everything. They'll post every interaction they have, good or bad. It's like Immigrant Press, good or bad he posts, doesn't matter. He usually does audits on post offices. So when they do get called cops usually don't give them too much shit. The post office people are still a little batty, but the cops are pretty straightforward with them. Not like he hasn't run into problem with cops. There's been cops too, but yeah, him, and there's a couple other channels I watch. Lackluster, Audit the Audit. They show, Lackluster shows both sides. Audit the Audit is different because he goes to all the other channels and picks out the audits and rates them. He stops in the middle and he says, "This is what's happened to this point. And if you look at the law," and he'll pull up the law and he'll say, "The law says this." So obviously the law, the customer doesn't, or the auditor doesn't know what he's talking about. then he'll start it back up, and then he'll say, okay, you have to stop it there because now the cop is saying stuff that doesn't go by law. The law says this, which refers to this law, which says that. He's very analytical about it, always putting out proof of exactly what's being said and what's not right and what is right. And at the end, he'll say, you know, the auditor obviously doesn't know everything he's supposed to know, so I'm going to give him a C. He could have kept his mouth shut. He could have done this. He could have done that. You know, and being hostile doesn't make anything any better. On the other hand, the cop gets an F because the cop arrested him, threw him on the ground, and broke his nose. He's well above what, you know, and he goes, he doesn't honeycoat anything that anybody does. He just says, this is how I rate this interaction. And he certainly gives cops an A and people Fs, you know, so.
But I will say his point that being hostile doesn't make anything better. It makes the content better, which is all I care about.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. So yeah, as far as Uvalde is concerned, there is some nuance there. I don't want to blame everybody, but you know, I had heard somebody back in the beginning that one cop had gone in that was not part of the regular police. And there's no video evidence to that. So that was yet another lie. So what I recommend you do is watch the video and don't turn the volume up. You can watch it and not be traumatized. You can see what they did. And he writes down what's happening, but you won't be traumatized if you turn the sound off. I made the mistake of listening to it, but I think even if somebody would have told me to turn the sound off, I'll probably listen to the sound anyway. It's horrific, but
I mean, I'm the same. I would have turned it on either way, but like not because you know I want to be traumatized or anything, but I think it's necessary to contextualize the egregiousness of their inaction. Like if it's silent, then you come away with a different impression than if you can hear everything.
It's how you become a witness for somebody, and it's witnessing the truth is like, yeah, they died horribly. I can't change that. The tears will still be there when I hear it, and I can't change that. So turning the sound off isn't changing the fact that it already happened.
Yeah.
But I can play witness to those babies, and that's still meaningful to some people. I think is you know, witnessing. It's not spectator. It's not to spectate. It's to show respect.
Yeah. Well, why don't we move on?
Free France.
Yeah.
Even if it's free, I still don't want it.
Well, we already have a France, so I don't know. You can always have ours. We have a France. They well, no, you know what? They really mooch a lot.
It's amazing that France, of all people, is freer than Canada and Australia.
Yeah.
And the United States, I don't really know what's happening now with people who are trying to leave the States or come into the States. France were talking about passports. I think here you just have to prove that you've had a test. I'm not sure what the laws are. I don't travel. What the fuck do I care? But that's what this was about. The French government was trying to have your status on a passport. You had to have like a separate passport for flying in or out of France. And the populist part said no and nixed it. So it wasn't the Democrats or the Republicans. It was a different kind of cut. It was the populist versus the non-populist across the divide of Republican or Democrat that ended up trouncing it. So France is freer possibly than everybody else is, which is kind of embarrassing for the United States.
Yes. And I'm great. I'm glad. Good for you guys, France. Good for you guys, because I think you guys should know that what your leaders are doing and what our leaders are doing is just basically pwning us in front of us to our face with the approval of their party members who don't understand that they're being pwned as well.
Yeah.
That's the part that blows my mind. They don't understand that everything that they're voting for is also fucking them over. And they're the fat people in my country. Not all of them, but a lot of them. I'm like, I hope you enjoy your forced diet.
Well, maybe that was why they voted the way they did. It's like, I've tried everything. I can't lose the weight. Mass starvation could be the solution.
Spud Gun sent me some DMs about Uvalde. We covered some of it. The cop checking his phone. Going to report reads.
We can revisit the subject next week if you want.
Yeah.
Because like you sitting there reading your DMs is probably not going to be.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, I know. Dead air. Something I'm thoroughly against. He did make the point that's worth mentioning is the release of the video was also suspect because it was released to the entire world instead of the parents first. A point worth making. Yeah, so that's important to add on there. But yeah, as far as France is concerned, I'm you know, we I don't know if it's true with Canada and Australia as well, but the United States kind of makes fun of France a little bit, even though that they were key, absolutely key to art independence. We still kind of make fun of them because of their flirtation with the Nazis. The Nazis were getting big. Part of France said, "Hey, we like Nazis," and that's not good.
I don't know much about I don't think Australia has much to do with mocking of France, but because I watch American TV, there's things like Married with Children where Al Bundy goes, "Am I alone in hating the French?" and everyone cheers. Or The Simpsons, Italy or France.
How does
never says Italy.
Fucking French. How does Canada see them? Because you got French in you to a certain extent. Well, put the wording aside, phrasing. Sorry about that.
But so in terms of France, all I know about France is that we helped to liberate them a little bit too. I know that they fucked up a lot with the Germans, but to be honest, I think half of them did that because at the time they were being pwned. But in terms of my relations with French people, they have this problem with plugging their ears and going la 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 la, and that is culturally a bit of an issue. I don't know how strong it is in France because I've met some nice people from France. I'm lucky that way. But that's always been, I think, a little bit of a problem. In terms of the world scale, France has a lot of history where, they were in charge of the world. They did have a lot of say in how the world was run. And they did have a big influence on the world. Whether or not it was always good for people, we know it wasn't. They know it wasn't. But they also have this tendency to take their snobbery too far. You know, that cutting off your own nose to spite your enemies so you can be a bigger snob. When they do that, their politicians do that kind of shit, and their little people suffer the most. They're used to it a little bit. That's why they have so many protests. But I think France. The other thing with France, and I know there's some French people who are going to boo me for saying this, but France really wanted to put on this face of we really want a bunch of migrants in our country. But I hate to break it to you, but the Populist Party is really popular right now because they're kind of not. You know, because they're not just bringing in people who are foreign. They're bringing in people who are foreign who don't give a shit about France. And that's always a big no-no. And honestly, it should be for any country because we don't dislike people coming into our country. We dislike people who come into our country and then destroy shit.
Mm-hmm.
There was a picture on Twitter a guy sent out. I don't know what his personal background was, so it could be questionable. But he showed a picture of France from the 50s next to a picture of France from 2022. And the picture of 1950 was all white people. And the 2022 was all burqas. It was kind of like, how do you comment on that without sounding Bad. I'll just say bad. I'm not going to use an ist word. I'm just going to say bad.
You know, it's how do you be honest without being honest?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and
I just decided I wasn't going to respond to it. I just put a like on it, like as I do with most of my stuff. If I see something that interests me, that's enough for me to like it. So
here's the one thing though that I can see predicting for the future. And here's the thing that the far lefties have forgotten is that Muslims and Christians do have something in common, and it does stem from their religion. So at the moment, I think both parties have kind of clued in on the fact that we're all being owned. We are all being like kind of angled at each other as though we're not going to catch on at some point by some of the grossest people on the planet. Like, I'm saying this as somebody who, okay, a couple of years ago at my Stampede, you might find a scorpion on a slice of pizza. It was meant to be like a dare food. Like you go to a fair and, oh, yeah, you're so tough, you're eating a scorpion on a slice of pizza. No biggie. But now you go to my Stampede and they've got hot dogs with crickets in them, covered in mealworms.
Yeah. Okay.
And you're going to the Stampede and you're gonna have a sausage breakfast, or maybe later you're gonna have a hamburger, and they're serving you fake meat. Yeah. And that plant-based stuff is disgusting. It is. I've tried it twice in this week.
Did you have an Impossible burger?
It was an Impossible sausage patty.
Wow.
And it was just vile. It didn't taste like pork. It had.
Of course, it didn't.
It had the weirdest. It had the weirdest texture, and I honestly thought I spit it out because I was going to puke.
What I want to do is I want to go to Burger King with a couple of my friends and get an Impossible burger and cut it up into small slices and have all of us try it, because there's no way I'm going to buy an entire burger just to try one bite and spit it out. But what I wanted to say about the French was that the French are of themselves. That's probably the most important thing about the nationality of France. Is that they're very independent about themselves. They will do what they want to do, and they will not be pressured by anybody to do anything that they don't want to do. They are, I mean, Eddie Izzard says this, you know, they're the French. They're going to do what they want. They're fucking French. That's what they are. You know, the world says, do this. Well, we're not gonna, because we're French and we're going to do what the fuck we want to do, kind of deal. And that independence works for them in most circumstances. The only time we didn't really do that is in our War of Independence, when they worked with us against the Brits. If it wasn't for the fact that they did that, we would still be a British colony right now today. We didn't win that war. Us and France won our independence. So if they complain about our guns in France, dudes, you're the guys who did it. You installed in us the need for guns. So don't come crying.
I think the French just hated the English, and that they would side with anyone who was against the English.
I'm just saying that the one day that my prime minister decides to be really stupid and offer a halal hot dog to a Muslim that has crickets on it, and he's surprised when he gets slapped really hard, because they're not going to take it well either. I'm just saying. Hey, you came to Canada where we have really good things, but we're going to feed you bugs.
Yeah, I will never eat bugs. I will never live in a pod. I will own things. Fuck you.
Right? Thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the deal with the passport decision, is that they're not going to have one, which when they announced that it passed, the whole place roared cheering that it didn't pass. So that was nice to see. That was a nice story, you know. Something good for a fucking change. Jesus. So let's get depressing again. You want to talk about inflation?
Red did ask me a reasonable question. I'll just cover that real quick. They did have other food, but honestly, nothing that they offered was really traditional standard Stampede food. It was all foreign food, like Korean barbecue, that kind of stuff. I don't dislike any of those foods. I was just kind of disappointed that they didn't really seem to care about my culture, which is Stampede food, which is barbecue. Like,
White
fuck
people
you.
don't have
Everybody likes barbecue.
I like barbecue.
Right? I know that's Texan too. I know that, a lot of Americans understand when I say barbecue, but Stampede, barbecue.
As long as you don't put a lot of spices on it. I'm not a spicy kind of guy. I barely handle table pepper. But I love barbecue. Barbecue pork?
Yeah.
Oh, yummy. Barbecue chicken? Absolutely.
Well, since we've mentioned Texas, I'd just like to say hi to all the breakfast tacos out there in chat.
Right?
I was considering that as a topic tonight. I mean, if I was a Spanish woman, I'd be doubly annoyed at that comment. Because that's in America. I don't know if it's true everywhere else. It may be global, it may not be, but taco's kind of our version. Yeah, kind of our version of the C word because of the shape.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's true in Australia or if it's true in Canada, but here in the States it is.
I've only ever heard it as an American thing.
Yeah.
Same with beaver as a euphemism.
All right. Like, we don't have to name all of them.
No, but when I was watching The Naked Gun,
Jen's gonna punch you.
I didn't get the joke until much later when I got American friends because of the internet. Like, oh, okay.
Now
I get what he was.
It's all good.
I'm sure Jenny even uses these. Jen's much more real than to be upset about any of this.
Yeah.
No, I just know better than to actually have a conversation with somebody about a beaver at any given time because it does come up.
Tell me you're not snickering when that comes up.
Well, I'll laugh for a little bit, but then I'm like, but I'm talking about a baby beaver. Like, legit, I have a little picture of a baby beaver and it's adorable. And you're talking about something naughty. I'm like, that's not a good time.
I'll go as far as to play dumb, to just not make the connection. I'll say, is that a platypus? What is that? Is that a rat? I know damn well it's beaver, but I'm not going to say it. So anyway, but yeah, I guess, we got like 15 minutes left to talk about you want to talk about inflation? Because, everybody in the States, I'm going to admit to this again. I've admitted to this before in the past, but I'm going to admit again, we are so centric about being Americans that we can't even see Canada as being American, even though they're in North America. But this whole story with the way that inflation is, it's not just in the States. This is everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So
we've got it too.
Oh, sure you do. I'm sure it's in Australia as well.
And they're playing the same garbage line with us. Oh, well, we were at the highest rate of employment. Well, you mean you rehired all the people you fired? That's not a high rate of employment. That's just giving jobs back.
They just made the same mistake that we did. That's all. Your government made the same mistake our government did, is we shut everything the fuck down. Big mistake.
Yeah. And they're still shutting the shit down they're
still trying. You guys are trying a lot more than we are.
Yeah, they're doubling down like so hard. I'm like, okay, well, you know what?
When
our farmers will go on strike. I 100% believe that they will. I also 100% believe that our truckers will join them again.
Yeah, I was going to say, aren't you guys tooling up for another trucker rally?
Mm-hmm.
Oh man.
Yep. I said before, if our farmers haven't done it yet, it's because they really do have a short time period to plant their shit. They're not going to let us starve. They might let Ontario starve. I don't really know. Ontario has their own farmers, so their own farmers might feed them. But I could absolutely see them cutting ties with the big chains. I could see them cutting ties with Trudeau, and I could see them making a correlation with the regular people, because the regular people are tired of this too.
Yeah.
Like
looking at this from a global standpoint, is Australia kind of the quietest of the three of us?
Right now, yes.
I mean, I had to get my monthly income raised because of inflation, so it is hitting Australia too, but less than everywhere else, I think.
But the strife is not. You guys aren't like having, knockdown dragouts in Parliament, are you? Or whatever your government's called. Fuck it, I don't know.
I don't really pay attention to Australian government. It's I don't know.
You guys have really lowered a lot of your mandates a lot too, though, haven't you?
Well, only because there's an election coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Like we've already had our election for the prime minister, but like one of the ones who was like really bad was Daniel Andrews, and because there's a state election in Victoria coming up, suddenly the mandates are being dropped, and assuming he wins and retains his seats, like, you know, I think we need more of them. I can absolutely see him bringing the mandates back if he gets another term.
Yeah. So I could see that. Yeah, it's really up in air.
I think the states in Canada, North America, I'll just call us North America to get both of us. I think there's a lot of strife here. You're dealing with Trudeau, and he's on the edge of being fucking Hitler. He is so authoritarian.
Yeah,
I'm scared for you guys. We're dealing with a guy who doesn't have any brain in his body at all. So there's a big strife here. Did you see the MatGets thing that happened today? They're in Congress, standing up, yelling at each other in our Congress. That never happens.
I did see a clip from several years ago where one of our ministers called another one a cunt in Parliament.
But it's different there, though.
No. But it was funny because the only response was like the chairperson or whoever like managing, like, please refer to your fellow ministers by their correct title.
It's so polite.
Yeah.
Don't call him that.
I'm going to make another prediction, and I'm going to sound like Tim Pool, but yeah, I do think the world is due for a mass civil war. Like, you know, when you think World War III, I think World War III is going to be a mass civil war.
Well, that's not a world war.
I mean, I think the population is going to turn on the governments. That's for sure. Whether they're going to turn on each other, I don't know. I can't really I really can't see Canada turning on the United States. I could see the United States invading Canada if they really want to, but I don't ever see the Canadians going to war with the States. I mean, who would do that?
Yeah.
Well, we could. We don't have the means to, but I could.
We protect you. That's our job.
Yeah.
You know, you're our friends. We would never attack you.
Yeah, but you got to understand that a lot of our population has probably been brainwashed by the Chinese. So some of them, I don't know where they are. I think they have this la-la land that they can just tell other countries that what they're doing is illegal. Like when my finance minister was like, the illegal actions of Russia and Ukraine. I'm like, what? I know that what they're doing is unethical. It's not right. But at what point does Canada get to tell other countries what's legal and not legal?
But Spud brings up the point of Sri Lanka. Have you seen what's going on down there?
Oh, I've been.
They're hunting down their government and killing them.
Mm-hmm. I know it's barbaric, and I don't agree with that part of it. But I acknowledge that what they're doing, why that works, is because it installs fear in the leaders that control your life. And I don't necessarily want to kill people on the street because that's kind of, I think I'm a little bit above that a little bit. But I do think
Jen wants to kill people indoors.
I do think the
with
part
a mask on.
where we used to have a constitution that would hold our leaders accountable
you don't have a
for the things that they cause. Yeah, we do.
What's it called?
We do. Canadian Charter of Rights.
Oh, Charter of Rights. Oh, okay.
But we did have laws and rules for this kind of thing. We don't hold them accountable. And when we do hold them accountable, it's a slap on the wrist or they get fired. And I think that's wrong. I think we need to be more strict. If you cause problems, if you do illegal shit, you need to be held accountable. Mm-hmm. And if you didn't do your job, you either need to be docked pay, not paid at all, because you didn't do your fucking job, or you need to be penalized. You need to have legal penalization done to you. If in the 4 years that you were employed, you didn't get like 80% of what you were employed to do done, I'm sorry, you don't get another term.
Yeah, Sri Lanka had a revolution as opposed to an insurrection. That's the point I'm hearing. That's what I'm hearing in chat. Yeah, you say you want a rev. Yeah. So I mean, if I wish I had a rosier look at the way things are standing, but things are bad and they're going to get worse, and there's already mumblings now.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think you should buy a couple hundred extra bullets and some long-term food that you can put in cans, and because I think there's going to be some real trouble brewing in the not too distant future. So
yeah, and anybody who has the means of getting out of big cities and homesteading,
and don't come around me. I don't want you.
Don't do the saran wrap shit though. That shit's retarded.
Oh, you saw that too?
Yeah, it's retarded.
Did you see it, Terry?
No.
Tell him about this. This is crazy.
So I'm not sure where she's from. I do know where she pulled this shit from. But there was this trend of people using saran wrap to make tents. And so she's like, I'm gonna make a spider web with saran wrap to make a tent between a bunch of trees. And I think she used like
16 rolls.
16 rolls of heavy duty saran wrap to make this tent. And honestly, it looked like a greenhouse. She made a greenhouse for herself. Good job, lady.
It had
so what
openings.
is saran wrap? Is that like the clear plastic wrap? Or is that
clear plastic that's clingy?
Okay, yep.
And what she did was she went around these 4 or 5 trees over and over and over and over again until she had a thick layer, and then she just kind of squished it together, and it became like a rope almost. And then she went over the ropes from rope to rope across to make like a bed out of it. And then she did it again higher to make a tent out of it. And she used 16 rolls. They said she used 16 rolls, but if you look at the video, it looks like she used 100 rolls. Because it just, how could you only use 16 rolls to get all of that? And I'm thinking to myself, what happened to those 16 rolls? Saran wrap or cling wrap, whatever you want to call it, is made out of oil. It's a plastic product. So she's wrapping this around trees out in nature. When they were done, did they cut it down? What did they do with it? Burn it? Did they carry all the old rolls back with them, squish them all up, cut them down, throw them in the trash, waste all of that?
And just left it there, probably.
They probably just left it there. That's probably what they did. They probably just left it there.
Yeah, and that's going to sit there forever.
Well, as long as, until...
I mean, birds might live in it. I'm not saying, I could see a bird making a nest in it.
Yeah, I'm just concerned about birds eating it or other... in getting the plastic and killing them and that kind of stuff. I mean, I understand the point they made. It was kind of, cool and all that kind of stuff. Look, you can do this with plastic wrap. Hey, not cool, but I would be concerned about how they cleaned up the mess after they were done and why they would waste all that. It's not like people don't waste shit all the time, but, it just seemed exorbitant to me.
See, the thing is she got this idea from a couple of Russian dudes who did something similar. But here's the thing, though. They used an industrial one. So they only used 2 layers when they made it. And it was basically a little teepee. There was a huge difference between the two because the one that they used already has a thick layer. You only need 2 layers to do it. Yeah. She saw that, was like, oh, look at these guys. They're so popular because these people are making jokes about them being, maybe they were just divorced or something. That was the joke, that was kind of their gag.
The chat is ripping this up.
Yeah.
It was a typo. It was 116 rolls. It's going to mold. Water's going to get in the crevices.
Yeah.
Stupidly wasteful. Yeah. Every one of you are right about that. I mean,
yeah, she thought she was doing something clever. And I'm like, if you want to do something clever like that, do it in your backyard.
You want to make a tent, go get some leaves, some sticks, some brush, and make yourself a little tent out of wood. Use it for a couple of days and then move on. But doing this is just, how can we do the worst possible thing that we can do for internet clout? That's what this is.
Yeah.
Anyway. It's 10 o'clock. You guys got anything else you want to bring up? I guess we can kind of consider inflation covered at this point.
Well, we can always inflate the stream and go for longer if need be.
Do you have anything you want to talk about? I'll go longer. I'm hungry as fuck,
No,
but I'll go. I'll go longer if you guys got anything you want to talk
nothing.
about.
I saw a funny argument break out on fighting game Twitter where one of the top players made a comment about games were better before we knew the actual numbers, because like how many frames of animation every attack has and all that.
Oh yeah.
And like that started a massive fight over whether you should like need to know the frame information to play fighting games or not. That was fun.
Intel put into the China market their first distinct graphics card. You guys are all familiar with AMD ATI cards and NVIDIA cards. Well, AMD has gotten into the video game card market. They introduced a card in Japan, the A380. And the guy who runs probably the premier, I don't know if you can call it the premier, it's certainly a very established computer channel, Gamers Nexus. His name is Steve. Got a hold of it. He obviously has people who are living in China or Japan or wherever it was, some Asian country, I forget where it was, who sent him one across the country, paid for shipping, all that kind of stuff. He probably paid for them to ship it to him because you can't get it in the States. And when he got it, he got drivers for it, and he did a review of it. He put it in a machine and ran games against it to see how it performed. And it performed like an entry-level NVIDIA card, like a lower-level 1350, NVIDIA card. Not particularly impressive. But he kind of gave it a go because it was their first attempt. This is Intel's first shot at what you call a discrete video card, a card that you plug into the machine that's separate from the rest of the machine. You just plug it and that's your video card. This is their first time at it. And he said, it's very, very well made. There's not a lot of plastic. There's not a lot of errant screws. There's not a lot of weak points. It's very solid. And it's very well cooled. It has quality fans. He says it's just not very powerful. And he said for a first shot into the market, this isn't bad. He says in some cases it beats the lower end NVIDIA cards and often beats some of the low end Radeon cards from AMD. He says it's not something that I would give to somebody who's got a 3080 or a 3090 or something like that. He says it doesn't compete. It's not anywhere near that. He says, but for a first shot, this is a good look. He says, but don't go buy it. He said, don't go buy it. He says, you can get a used RX 580 on the market that'll destroy this for about the same price. He said, yeah, it's a used card. And it's probably been used for mining, but it'll destroy it and you'll be a happier person because of it. So he says, even though it's not something I would recommend you buying, I'm impressed by what Intel did here.
That's cool.
Yeah, I know. So I still haven't bought, I'm still running on my 1070, which is a 5-year-old Pascal card. But the prices, I don't know if you've been watching the computer market, but the prices have dropped dramatically. I mean, almost to the point that most of the cards are at retail prices. The prices that they were supposed to be when they were first introduced. So you can get a 3080 for under $1,000 right now, where they were like $2,500 6 months ago. You can get it for under $1,000, like $950 for a 3080. It won't be like, a customized 3080. It won't be like white, and all LEDs. It'll be just a standard 3080. But for under $1,000, I mean, the price on them is supposed to be like $950 or $900, $899 or something like that. So to be almost right where the reference price is it's at the point now where I got to start saving money once I get my taxes paid. That's another problem to do with the inflation, to get back on the inflation topic. I get a certain amount of money from investments that I'm not getting because of taxes.
Right.
And inflation. So I'm in the position of having to potentially sell some of my land to make up for it. So I'm kind of in the same boat that you are with that. But if I have to sell a couple of acres to get myself a video card, I'm all in for it, because for as nice as my 1070 is, it can run the stream. I have StreamYards up, I have OBS up, I have my panel that shows all of my stats. I have YouTube up. I have Notepad++ up. I have chat up. I have all these things running on my machine, and you can look at the screen and see that my CPU is at what, 16%. I know the image looks like it's on fire. It's not. I just like yellow and red, but it's only running at 16%. And I've framed out the fan speed. The fan speed is at 1600. It's a 2200 RPM fan. So a fan's not even running very hard. So my machine is capable of doing all this, but that 1070 is just like 5-year-old technology in a machine that's pretty much up to date. You know, so I really want to replace it, and now it's getting to the point where I can. So
it's yeah, like even though obviously all my shares have gone down because of like the current economic situation, all my fixed interest stuff has gone up. So I mean, I'm fine for money. It's just yeah, as long as I don't sell any shares, I'll be fine.
Wandering Lisa says in chat, I have a GTX 1060. But a 1060 is a much newer card than the old 1070, isn't it? Isn't it 10? Or am I thinking of the 1660? I'm thinking of the GTX 1660 was a recent card. The 1060 probably came out around the same time the 1070 did. So you have an old card too. You probably have more.
I honestly couldn't tell you what I've got. I got my friend to recommend what specs to make the computer, and that was like 10 years ago. So it's obviously old, like it's at least that old, but
well, the meter,
yeah, I could tell you what it is.
Well, if it's a year old, it's much newer than mine. The program that captures what my machine is doing at all times, it went out to the video card and asked the video card what it was, and that's what it displays on the screen. I didn't even have to go looking. I know it's an EVGA card. I knew that. I knew it was a 1070 Ti, but according to thing, it's an EVA GTX 1070 Ti SC Black. I don't know what that means. SC Black, okay, it is a black card. You know, it's scary. It needs to have gun regulation. It's a scary black card, but I don't know what the SC means. Super cool. That can't be my card. I could not have a card that's super cool. I'm just not cool enough for.
Maybe it's Soul Calibur. Maybe they're fighting game.
Soul Calibur. It could have come packaged with Soul Calibur. That's possible. EVA just do weird stuff like that. So anyway, now that the prices have dropped, I'm going to have to save up a little bit longer than I wanted to get a new card, but I'm going to get some kind of 3080. I want to get the Asus 3080 ROG Strix in white with LEDs because my case is all white and I want it to match, but I have a feeling that's going to still be like $1,400. I'm not going to be able to afford it. Fuck! Anyway. Anything else, Jen, before I go? Keeping me here?
No, I can't really think of anything much.
All right.
Trudeau was in my town.
He was in your town?
Right. He was in my town.
This is the full song. We can talk a little bit. It's all right.
Oh, okay, yeah. He was in my town. He didn't announce it because we kind of have a fair going on.
Mm-hmm.
And he was just like, I'm going to slip in and flip pancakes for people. And he got heckled. And I'm
you're an elitist asshole. Don't be flipping pancakes.
Oh, he does flip pancakes. But you know what? He
bullshit.
flips the pancakes with utensils that his mom makes. Totally not ethically with, funding from our government or anything.
To answer Cryptic in chat, I'm not going to wait for the 4,000s. They're going to be even more expensive now. I don't have money for it. Also, welcome to the end of the stream, Cryptic. the new Jack. Cryptic is the new Jack. Before the song does run out, I should probably get out of here. Thanks, chat, especially Cryptic for showing up because he's at the end of the show and he knows to come at the right time. For chatting with us tonight. And I need to read more chat. I got to remember to do that more often. If you guys can't wait for the next Wednesday show, remember the Minions are live every evening, including weekends, with most shows starting at 11:30 p.m. Eastern, 7 days a week. Host and start times are listed in the description down below. I always literally point to my crotch when I say that. You guys can't see me because I don't run a camera. But I always point down when I say in the description down below. Can't stop it. Don't know why I do it. We will be back next Wednesday at 9 p.m. as usual. I hope you guys enjoyed the show, and we'll see you again next week. Good night, everybody.
Looking forward to it. Okay, bye.
Bye, guys.